Welcome to Health, Wellbeing and Lifestyle, where professionals in the field inform, educate and inspire the community to be healthier and have a balanced lifestyle. Our first guest today is Lifestyle GP, Dr. Avi Charlton, and we will be talking about whether a low-carb diet is the key to weight loss. Welcome, Dr. Avi. It's great to have you here.
Thanks for having me, Stephanie.
So, have you had your own personal experience with a low-carb diet?
Interesting you say that. About a few years ago, I started my own lifestyle change. I wanted to lose some fat. I joined a gym and I participated in an 8-week body transformation challenge. I just did it for fun. My personal trainer prescribed me a diet. I had to follow a spreadsheet with so much protein, so much fat and so much carbohydrates, and turns out that was a low carb diet. After 8 weeks I lost 4 kilos and I was very happy. That's about the fat that I've wanted to lose, and I was so interested in this diet. I dived into the science, I learned a bit, and as a GP I understand what happened to our body. So I learned a bit more, did lots of courses, and I started to use it on my patients. I started to tell my patients that we need to really cut back on carbohydrates if you want to lose weight. The carbohydrates include the sugar, the processed foods, and also the bread, potato, pasta, lots of processed foods that's got sugar in the ingredients. There's actually so many different names of sugar and the marketing try to hide it. It's 56 names of sugar. So you really have to look at the labels and understand what's in the package. So with the low carb diet, we have to really cut back on the carbohydrates and we have to eat much more of meat, eggs, chicken, fish and pork and lamb and veggies. With the vegetables, we need to concentrate on eating above ground vegetables rather than the starchy potatoes, sweet potatoes and pumpkins, all those starchy vegetables. And if we prioritize eating more protein, adding healthy fat to our diet, that is a really low carb diet. We can include a little bit of fruit, especially the berries are low carb fruit, and really stay away from high sugar fruit. If we eat when we're hungry, reducing the amount of snacks that we eat, that will help us to burn our fat that we don't want, and that will help with losing weight. A standard Australian diet or standard American diet is usually 200 to up to 500 grams of carbohydrates a day, especially when you eat cereal and oats and bread and then desserts and sugar and maybe some snacking on some chocolate. So a low carb diet is usually below 50 to 100 gram a day. And there's also variations called ketogenic diet, which is even less, like less than 20 gram of carbohydrates a day. So going on a low carb diet is dramatically reducing your carbohydrate intake, and we can teach our body to not burn the glucose that we eat, and we can start to burn the fat that we want to get rid of. Quite often doing that, we can reduce our bloating, our bowel gets better, and we can reduce our belly fat. We can feel better, feel more energy and feel more vibrant, and we can deal with our day-to-day stresses better.
So with more meat in the diet, I think we sometimes think there'll be an increase in cholesterol levels. Is that the case?
Yeah, a lot of people are worried about eating too much fat, too much meat will increase your total cholesterol. There's actually new science saying that it's not just the total cholesterol that is of worry. It's more the triglyceride, which is the other part in the cholesterol profile, and the good cholesterol, which is the HDL. So some people have heard that about the ratio. So the ratio between the triglyceride and the HDL is much more important and informed us the risk of heart disease, cardiovascular risk, rather than the total cholesterol. So there's new science saying that inflammation is important about increasing your risk of heart attacks, and the total cholesterol might not be as important, and the bad cholesterol might not be so important either. So we really should look at the whole profile, the whole person, to assess the risk of heart attacks.
I see. Very interesting. And do you have any advice for our viewers for them to embark on this journey now of a low carb diet? Anything they can start today?
Yeah, absolutely. With changing your lifestyle, changing your diet, it's important for your viewers to follow a program or seek help with a professional that is in tune with dealing with the low carb diet. They can do it gradually, especially with reducing sugar and processed foods. Nobody should be eating too much sugar and processed foods. It's highly inflammatory, it damages your health, and it's highly addictive. So once you start eating a piece of chocolate, you want to eat more chocolate, more sugars. And the next step is eating more protein, more real food, eggs, chicken, fish, meat. And quite often that will improve the health, improve the nutrition. We can add lots of vegetables, above ground vegetables, staying away from too much starchy vegetables. And we can learn to read food labels. Don't eat too much processed foods and chemicals, numbers. And read the really fine prints of the food labels. And doing that, they can follow a program, learn to how to improve their life, and quite often losing weight, and people will feel much more energy. They can think better, feel better in themselves, less bloated, reduce the risk of chronic diseases like metabolic syndrome, diabetes, and even Alzheimer's disease, cancer, inflammation, aches and pains. So adopting a low-carb diet can have tremendous health benefits. Now lots of studies showing that is the case.
Wow, it sounds incredible. Thank you for all of that information.
Thank you.
If you would like to learn more about a low-carb diet for weight loss and Dr. Avi Charlton, please visit her webpage on our website, healthwellbeingandlifestyle.com.au. And after the break, we will be back with another interesting guest and another interesting topic.
Stay tuned. After the break, Sue Williams, Doctor of Quantum Counselling and Clinical Hypnotherapist, will be talking about, could epigenetics be the key for athletes, people in business, and everyone to health and success? Welcome back. Our next guest, Sue Williams, is a Doctor of Quantum Counselling and a clinical hypnotherapist, and the topic we'll be discussing is, can epigenetics be the key for peak performance in athletics, business and our everyday lives? Welcome, Sue.
Thank you, it's a pleasure to be here.
Sue, may you explain a little bit more about epigenetics?
It's becoming a little bit more well known, but a lot of people have never heard of it. So it is based on your genes, like you have a genetic sequence in your DNA. But we have the epigenetic, which is actually something that we can change. It's all to do with switching on and off the genes in our DNA sequence. So the DNA itself doesn't change. The actual genes that are on the DNA strand are the same, but we can turn them on and off. Unconsciously, it can happen to us by our environment, by our thoughts, because our thoughts control our physical being. If we live in a very built-up area and we're breathing in car fumes all day, if we're near factories, we're breathing in the toxins from the factories. Of course, there are regulations now so that these things aren't as bad as they used to be. They tend to build up over time, which is a problem. That affects our genetic makeup a lot. And the great thing about epigenetics is that we can change that genes, whether they're turned on or off, which affects our health, our well-being, our reality.
Why is it the key to our health and success?
It's because we are in control. We don't have to be seeking outside assistance, we can start with ourselves. We can do the things that are going to improve our wellness. And that can start with our diet. If we choose organic produce rather than produce that's potentially been sprayed with pesticides, growth hormones, that type of thing. If we can go back to as natural a diet as possible, and that doesn't mean excluding meat, because you can get responsibly sourced protein in a number of ways, including meat. You just have to look for it a bit harder. Unfortunately, it is a bit more expensive because it's not mass produced. But not mass produced can often indicate that it's going to be a lot better for us because it's done in smaller batches with more care. So that's one easy way. Another way is to remove heavy metals from our system, because they can have a real impact on the way our cells operate. They interrupt the natural flow, the natural development of our cells. And if we look back into earlier times when a lot of the older houses had lead paint, we know the damage that was done to young kids who were exposed to lead and the mercury in the fish. So this isn't new. This is something that's been happening for a long time, and research has been done into it. But now we're fortunate that we can purchase the heavy metal test kits. And once you've found out what the heavy metals are in your body, you can use natural substances like zeolite, and there are plenty of supplements out there that you can purchase, and rid yourself of these toxins. So that's a really good step forward. Drinking purified water, because these days there's so many impurities in our tap water. I would say don't turn to plastic single-use bottles, but buy a processing machine for your house. Even those bottles and jugs that purify the water, they're going to be so much better than you drinking the straight tap water, and a lot kinder on the environment than relying on plastic bottles. But this is all proactive stuff that we can do for ourselves. And by improving the way we live, then we improve the way our genetics work as well.
That's really interesting, Sue. Do you have any advice for our viewers going forward?
Yes, and the amazing thing is that when we're dealing with epigenetics, we can do it all ourselves. We can change our diet so that it's a better diet, less processed, and it's all this sort of thing is in line with what we do to try and stay healthy anyway. But if you do the testing to get rid of the heavy metals, improve your diet, improve your exercise, because that will improve your whole body well-being. So, and by doing that without even realising it, we're improving the way our genetic code works. And we can overcome these diseases that are passed down from generation to generation, like cancer, type 2 diabetes, heart disease. You'll see families that you've got generation after generation that have had this problem. It's caused by which of the genes is switched on and off. Improve your lifestyle, improve your health, and you have every opportunity of changing that, and you'll be the one that stops it. And if you're young enough, you'll be able to pass on this new genetic code, the way it's switched on and off, to your kids. And that's the amazing thing, that you can be the person who's changing, making the change for the people in your family, your downline, if we can call it that. But again, there are plenty of experts out there. If you need help at all with changing your diet, with changing your exercise regime, just look for experts in particular fields and get them to start helping you. And then once you are on that track, your body feels so much better that you really just want to keep doing it. You can break out every now and then, because if it's a very strictly regimented life that you lead, then you're probably not going to be as joyful as you want to be. So you can still include those naughty things every now and then. You can have a glass of wine. You know, you can have that chocolate if you really need to. But It's looking at the big picture. How do I live my life? I try and avoid the toxins. I try and have a good diet. I keep the exercise going. And that's more important as you get older. Just keep that exercise as much as you can. And you'll be the creator of your destiny and the destiny of your kids and your grandkids.
Thanks, Sue. That's such valuable information to follow. If you'd like to know more about Sue Williams and the effects of epigenetics in peak performance in business, athletics and everyday life and success, please go to her webpage on our website, healthwellbeingandlifestyle.com.au. And after the break, we'll have another interesting guest with another interesting topic.
Stay tuned. After the break, psychotherapist specialising in hypnotherapy, Julie Makin, will be talking about Dare to Live Authentically.
Welcome back. Our last guest is Julie Makin, a psychotherapist specialising in hypnotherapy, here to discuss the topic, Dare to Live Authentically. Hi Julie, it's so great to have you back.
Hi, thank you.
So tell us, what is authenticity?
Being authentic is about being true to yourself and to be asking yourself, is this right for me? Okay, so as an example, I know a lady and she felt hopeless, helpless. She had problems voicing, her wants and needs. She also felt not supported in her family unit. She had a couple of young kids and a husband that wasn't overly supportive. But when she actually started asking herself, is this right for me, at every choice, the world started to shift for her. People around her started to respond differently to her because she was starting to put up innate boundaries simply by asking herself, is this right for me? And when we do that, our world starts to work for us.
And how else can we live our truth? You've said put up boundaries and...
So definitely putting in boundaries as to what is right for you. If you're wanting to communicate with somebody, you might start off with an I feel statement. So I feel hurt when walk off on me and I'm in the middle of talking to you. I feel scared when you start to raise your voice. That sort of thing. So those are I feel statements. And the I feel statement is not about blaming the other person. It's about making both parties feel safe. Not only are you getting across what it is that you feel that you need to say, but then it's not landing on the other person as an attack. The other thing that I would say is you might also like to put in a thank you statement. So in a relationship, it might help to say thank you and appreciate that person. Thank you so much for being there for me. I know perhaps I haven't always said thank you for, when you do the dishes, when you pick the kids up from school. So just letting your partner know that you are appreciated. So being authentic, once again, I always come back to listening to the body as to what is right for you. So when you listen to the body and you go, okay, so do I want to go to that party? And if you just listen into your body and you recognize, oh, you know what, that's feeling a little bit challenging. It's, I'm getting all these anxious feelings coming up. And when that happens, I invite you to start to put yourself back in control by saying, okay, do I actually want to go to that party, or do I, not want to go? Because you know what? You have choice. So when you have choice and when you say, yes, you know what, I'm gonna go to that party, you are putting yourself back in control. You are putting yourself back into a place of safety. The other things to touch on as far as safety is concerned is to, start breathing properly. So in for 4, out for 4, sometimes even the double breath in, like the Wim Hof double breath in, making sure that you get it all the way down to the gut. Other things to connect with others to help us feel safe is the eye contact. We want to smile at someone. We want to connect with them. So those things help. You could also try like putting your tongue against the roof of your mouth as well. So just tiny little tips. Maybe check your body posture. So if we're feeling, we're crouching over and we're putting our head down, our body starts to feel that little bit low and depressed. But when we like stand up and where our chest is out, we're standing tall, we are proud of who we are, we are confident, and we are showing everybody and putting out this energy. Yes, we are confident. And when you start to live authentically, that starts to happen automatically. Your body starts to do it on its own.
What stops people from living authentically?
Okay, what I feel stops people from living authentically is that conditioning that we had as a child. Once again, I'm going to say my parents were gold star parents. They put the roof over my head, they clothed me, they fed me, they were awesome. They taught me to be compliant, to do as I was told, to put other people's needs ahead of my own. In doing so, they had me feeling like I don't matter. So these are the sorts of things that push aside our feeling of authenticity. Now, that kind of conditioning I had to put up with as a child. I still want to be loved. It's really important for a person to feel loved and included, not rejected. We want to feel supported. We want to feel safe.
Do you have any tips for our viewers?
Oh, absolutely. So once again, I'm going to reiterate the importance of the breathing. So in for 4, out for 4, to start taking the body back to that place of safety. Also, you might like to look at eye contact and smiling, with someone just to help connect. One thing that I really do feel is that villagers back in the day, our ancestors, had it spot on when they would do things like the dancing and the singing. So one thing that I will do in the morning is I like to sing, have music on in the shower in the morning, start to move around a little bit, and just to start your day off. You want to start your day off nice and good in the morning. And just the tip is to start taking up space. So whether or not you're, in a chair like this, you might, start to sit on a 45-degree angle. Start to take up space. When you're hopping out of bed in the morning, perhaps even before you even put your feet on the floor, I invite you to do open yourself up like a star and just start to take up space. It really helps the rest of the day to have a flow. We want you to start off the day in a positive way. Also invite the viewers to, start to connect more with your friends, your relatives, just for support if you need to. And then for further assistance, please get in touch with a professional therapist, of any modality. It doesn't matter. It's got to be what is right for you. Maybe one thing might not work for you, but perhaps something else will. So I invite you to really, get curious and start to have some adventure around that. Start to explore what is right for you.
Thank you so much, Julie.
No worries, thank you.
If you would like to know more about living authentically and Julie Makin, please visit her webpage on our website, healthwellbeingandlifestyle.com.au. That's all we have time for tonight. Goodbye until next week.
If you'd like to know more about our show, please like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram and subscribe to our YouTube channel.